Hey, what's up? This is Con. Been a while since I've done some of these comic book reviews, but got some opinions that I want to put out there based strictly on DC's little decision this month to have the zero issues. Have some of these held up well? What's good? What's not? Will anything piss me off out of this at all? Oh, you bet your ass it will. Got some Marvel, got some DC, a little Dark Horse, a little Avatar, a little IDW, a little bit of everything in this. So, without further ado, let's get on to the comic book reviews. I got last week's mixed in with this week's, so I'm just kind of going to run down the company list, and I even got one that I got in late. Came out like 2-3 weeks ago, but I'm still going to talk about it anyway, because if I hadn't read it until now, it's new to me. Let's get things kicked off with DC and start with Action Comics number 0, Grant Morrison with artist Ben Oliver, filling in for Rags Morales on this. This is a good issue. We got young Clark Kent Superman. We're not going back to his origin. We're actually talking about the first time that he came to Metropolis and donned the Superman persona. This is him getting set up. We see his examination of, getting an apartment in Metropolis, his examination of a friendship with Jimmy Olsen, and what happened the first time that he donned the cape, and something happened, and hence the title of The Boy Who Stole Superman's Cape. This is a good story. It's straightforward. It's not anything, cerebrally deep like what Morrison does, and it's not so cerebrally deep like issues 5 and 6 of the series was, to where you just couldn't know what the hell was going on. It's a straightforward, grounded story, and that works well for a zero issue. Ben Oliver's artwork in this is kind of on a quasi Rags Morales type, but it's a little more defined on its features. It's a nice touch for the story, and the details of the artwork do well to convey emotions in this issue, especially when the young boy who took Superman's cape after he was assaulted, you gain a little bit of sympathy for him and the situation that he's living in. This is a very well done issue, and I will continue reading this so long as Grant Morrison is attached to this. This is the Superman book from the New 52 for people who are not happy with the regular Superman book. This is good stuff, and I highly, highly recommend this issue. Next up, we're going to take it to a little bit of the darker corners of the DC Universe. We're going to cross over into the prequels of the Rot World once again with Animal Man number 0, written by Jeff Lemire with art this time by Steve Pugh. Alright, I'm going to say with these zero issues, some of these are good and some of these are not. I've loved Jeff Lemire's Animal Man, and even though the writers were kind of forced to do these new 52 takes for some of these characters, this is not a good issue. This is supposed to be Animal Man's backstory, but instead what we're getting is a history of the Animal Man mantle, and basically how the avatars of the Red are set up by their totems, and examining a little bit of history with a particular avatar of the Rot who has been causing nothing but trouble for these guys and for the Green. This is basically putting a twist on Buddy Baker's role as the Animal Man. Come to find out that he was not ordained, or let's put it like this, he's not a normal avatar of the Red in the sense that the other ones were. There was some very strange circumstances about his coming into the power, which is an interesting take on this. But what this issue kind of suffers from a little bit is that I felt that this issue should have been a character focal piece for this, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed that it's not. We do have another villain from Swamp Thing over in this one. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. It is Arcane who is in this issue. But his role is very really kept to a minimum. If anything, you know, if this was going to be an exploration of the villains in this, I would have at least thought that the Hunters 3 would have had a role to play in taking out a lot of the avatars of the Red, but apparently this is not the case. I like Jeff Lemire's Animal Man over and all, but I'm going to have to say, as far as a lot of the stuff that I've read, this is probably the weakest issue of Animal Man that I picked up so far. Still good, but just, you know, I'm just going to say my least favorite of them. Now, something that doesn't disappoint me, and quite frankly, I think that this would be Scott Snyder's best book if he wasn't writing Batman. Swamp Thing #0, with art this time by someone simply known as Kano. This is a further explanation into the origin of Alec Holland before he became the Swamp Thing. In fact, this is the exploration of the accident which originally killed Alec Holland and then revived or actually gave birth to the Swamp Thing that thought it was Alec Holland. But that's kind of a secondary story which we're examining in this. We kind of take it back a little bit to the House of Mystery 92, which featured the origin of the Swamp Thing, and we kind of really put a twist on that, especially with a sad note about the demise of Alec Holland's wife. This is also a little bit more of a character examination for Anton Arcane and what his role has been all of this time with the Rot. And this issue works. I'm a fan of horror. I'm a fan of creepiness. And Scott Snyder has delivered each and every time on this Swamp Thing. Exactly, this is what a horror comic should be. And it does a great job of examining Arcane and just the type of evil that he is embodied as. You know, that no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get rid of it. He'll always be there. And in that case, with the Green, they always have to have a Swamp Thing ready to take him on. There is a little bit of... Well, there's not really a lot of gore in this issue. Arcane does pull a little bit of acting like John Carpenter's The Thing in this. Kind of did that over in Animal Man too. And it's just an all-around creepy issue, and I'm like, God, I love this. I wonder what that says about me, but it's just good. If you're not reading this, do yourselves a favor, go back and pick up these first 12 issues and the 0 issue, and try and jump on board with this and Animal Man real quick, because Rock World is coming, and God, it's gonna fucking rock worlds. I'm looking forward to it. Next up, people might question my sanity about this, but I do believe in trying anything. I'm going to be honest. The writer who did this book catches a lot of flack from people for being the head of DC's company and okaying a lot of the stupid decisions that they make. But be that as it may, I decided to pick this up on a whim and just try it, just to see what they're going to do with this cat. And I have to say that I'm fairly impressed with what he's done with this. This is Phantom Stranger #0, written by Dan Didio, hence why you question my sanity now, with art by Brent Anderson and Scott Hanna. This is basically examining the role of the Phantom Stranger in the New 52, kind of examining his relationship with a bit of a trinity which is built up in this of power. We have him in this, we have Pandora, who is introduced in this, and we have a other particular individual from the DC Universe who is introduced in here, and who the Phantom Stranger unwittingly helps to create in this issue. This is supposed, I've been told, supposed to be a definitive origin for the Phantom Stranger now. And I'm not sure how I feel about this, especially for the background that he's given. Let's just say that he has major ties to a certain figure of reverence from certain sects of human history. and it is a great act of betrayal, suggesting where he comes from. That his role as being given the mantle of the Phantom Stranger is his path towards penance for this betrayal that he did against this individual a long time ago. I'm really surprised that this issue actually went there with its story. And it probably would piss me off, not really for just who it was that he dealt with, but more for the fact that the Phantom Stranger, as his name suggests, is a person of mystery. We don't really know much about him, and to kind of break this ground and give him a definitive origin, especially in this New 52, would kind of remove the wonder and the charm of this character. I'm going to say that as this issue goes alone, I don't know what the future was going to hold for this character in the New 52. But if Dan Didio did write this, I'm going to have to say that he did a good job fleshing out the origin of this Phantom Stranger in here. The story is actually not as bad as what you think it would be. There's some interesting ties to certain aspects of the New 52 universe that they do with this, and the art in this is actually pretty good. Would I stick with this? Should it become a new probably a title which is going to launch next month? I'm going to wait and see about that, but I will say that for taking a risk with this, it's not entirely bad. A lot of people like myself do give Dan Didio shit, but for what he does in this issue and, telling the story that he tells with this character, I'm going to say that he's actually done a good job with this one. Maybe we could see this man get his head out of his ass and actually attempt to write a good story, but we'll just have to wait and see about that. But if you see this, give it a fair shot. Despite what an idiot that this man has been in the past, do give it a shot, because I think that he does a good enough job with this issue. Next up, we're going to go back to Scott Snyder again with Batman number 0. And we have Greg Capullo once again on the artwork, and Jonathan Glapion as well. This is Batman's early days. One of the first times that he dons the costume and goes out and tries to fight crime, but he's not with the Batman mantle just yet. I will say that the one thing that I forgot to do is I did pick up the Detective Comics Annual, but unfortunately I left it and I didn't have a chance to review it, but I had to say that it is a nice twist that they do with a lot of his time spent over in the Orient and some of the tweaks that they do to his training over there to kind of influence him in becoming the vigilante that he is now. But this is Batman getting back home and kind of going out there and practicing and, not doing such a good job. He's getting out there and he's honing his skills. I'm also going to say, too, that this is largely, I feel, a setup issue for the Death of the Family crossover, which is going to be coming up next month with the Joker. Primarily because we're dealing with the Red Hood in this issue. Bruce has managed to get into the Red Hood gang that has been going around robbing a lot of banks in this issue, and actually the leader is able to sniff him out for a particular reason that there's a thing about Bruce that is defined that he does not do, and he pretty much tells on himself when he gets in front of the leader and does it. And the dude's able to sniff him out and realize who it is. And that kind of makes me wonder if this is not sort of the old version of one of Batman's greatest arch rivals. Hell, I'm going to speculate that it may be the zero origin of the Joker, per se, in this as well. But this is a good story. We get to see Batman making mistakes and kind of learning what's going on here. This is not exactly a knock him out of the park issue, but it is good for what it is here. As well as the backup feature in this issue, which is just absolutely phenomenal. We get introduced to some of the younger members of the Bat family in this issue, and to Jim Gordon in this as well. I love the way that the backup feature in this goes with just kind of skipping over all of the characters who make up the members of the Bat family in this. We get Dick Grayson, we get Jason Todd, we get Barbara Gordon, we got Tim Drake in here, and it's just a really, really well done backup feature in this issue. It's one of the reasons why I love some of these $4 books that they have, is because the backup features in them have been excellent for the most part, as well as Action Comics. This is a terrifically done story, and I absolutely enjoyed it, and I think you would too. Excuse me while I wet my whistle, because I'm going to be needing this for the rage that I'm about to have. You know, sometimes I understand going and trying new things. If you're still with me after this point, I still have a bit of books to go, but I appreciate you staying with me if you have. This one, I took a shot with this because I picked up the first trade of Geoff Johns' take on the Green Lantern. And I was actually fairly impressed with it. And I'm kind of interested to see what they do once they're gearing towards this crossover with the whole, the rise of the Third Army. I've been reading patches of Geoff Johns' run on Green Lantern. I read Blackest Night back when it was out. I read Secret Origin not too long ago, and I thought that was pretty damn good for what it was. The Sinestro trade was good. Still missing issues 7 to 12, so I don't know how those two are faring at this point. But this Zero issue is to give us a new Green Lantern in here, and I'm going to be agreeing with a lot of the stuff that Blue Goblin said on his review with this. Green Lantern number 0. Before I get to the thing that is stupid with this issue, let me get the good out of the way. This is a good looking cover, and Doug Mankey's artwork on the Green Lantern is good, as it usually is, I'm pretty sure. The problem is John's writing in this. We get this new Lantern named Simon Baz, or Simon Biaz. He's a Arabian American from Detroit. And he's chosen to be the new Green Lantern in this issue because he feels no fear. Sounds like a conceptually good story in speaking terms, but the execution in this issue is very, very terrible. I read one of the commenters on Blue Goblin's channel say that this is kind of Geoff Johns telling his own personal story with, the fact that he's Lebanese, which I did not know, and the fact that he's from Detroit. But what happens to Simon in this issue? And the decision to do what you did with this issue, Mr. Johns, in the wake of this past week being the anniversary of 9/11, and this character and how he is just begun on the hell that he goes through as a person. This really backfires tremendously, man. One of the biggest downsides of this new 52 relaunch is the fact that we're going back, like, we've got new stuff that looks hip and we're trying to be edgy, but we're regressing back to the 1950s in terms of character sexuality, which is kind of the problem that a lot of people have with that new Green Lantern from the Earth 2 stories. This is the problem with, the over-sexualization of Catwoman and Starfire, which has pissed a lot of people off. And needless to say, the way that Johns fucked up Justice League International, I haven't read that title, but I've heard plenty of rage from people, especially the two old guys that run my comic shop, and they were pissed about this, and I can understand why. If this story is just absolutely terrible, it throws almost every stereotype that exists out there against Arabs into the story. I mean, hell, we got a fucking Guantanamo Bay-like sequence in this issue that takes place, and that kind of adds further to my rage because I actually came hot off the heels of watching Safe House when before I read this issue. And then the stuff that they do in this issue, and like people are just beating the hell out of this guy, terrorist, terrorist, terrorist. Very stereotypical stuff. But the one mistake which is made absolutely worse than this is a bullshit explanation for how he becomes the Green Lantern. While he's getting the torture, I'm spoiling the hell out of this issue, but you know what? Fuck it. As he's getting tortured by the feds, a Green Lantern ring shows up. Like, he's showing no fear. He's lost a lot of things that's dear to him, and then all of a sudden this Green Lantern shows up, or this Green Lantern ring shows up and says, "Simon Biaz of Earth, you have been chosen," and it's like, it keeps saying error. Simon Biaz of Earth, error. You know no fear, error. What? Like, this makes no sense. How can he be a Green Lantern ring and you're sitting there telling us he's not? I mean, like, this is a contrivance upon contrivances. Like, this makes absolutely no sense. You're trying to go back and do a little bit of what Marvel did with the Ultimate Spider-Man, and you're trying to do it with this. But this does not translate well. Doug Mankey's artwork in this is good, but Jeff Johns' storytelling in this absolutely sucks. I think I would be inclined to agree with Blue Goblin on this, because he's stretched so far over everything. His Justice League stuff. People have been saying that his Aquaman is good. I actually disliked his Aquaman, and I'm going to get to that. I might talk about that a little bit later on as to why I don't like it. I don't have the books with me, but I'm not liking his Aquaman too much either. But, this is absolutely terrible, man. If you were to skip anything of the Zero relaunches so far, I would absolutely recommend that you skip this, because this has just got awful. Yeah. And I just absolutely ranted over that, but what you gonna do? That's it for DC. Let's move it on and make a brief stop at Avatar Press. You might be wondering who the fuck Avatar Press is. Well, they're this wonderful little company that does a lot of independent books. They're not as well known as IDW or Dark Horse, to say the least, or even Dynamite, but they do some good stuff in there. I've been reading this little series out of there, and I've finally been able to get my hands on the other issues, and it's looking like there's just some great stuff happening in this. Why am I happy with this? Because there's a good werewolf story out there right now. I'm talking about this series called Ferals, Issue 8, written by David Lapham, with art by Gabriel Andrade. Now, for those of you who are new to finding out about this series, let me kind of recap some of the things I talked about, because I did review the 5th issue of this a while back. We have a sheriff in a small town named Dale Chestnut. Him and his wife are attacked by a werewolf in the story. She's killed, and he's maimed by it. And we have all these sequence of events happening leading up to him killing the werewolf, which is responsible for turning him. And we're actually, after everything's done, he's turning. But then come to find out, the FBI also has just found out the existence of these things, and now they approach him about sniffing out some more of them for the feds. And it's actually an interesting take on this. The series also does something with the werewolves in this issue too. Kind of like how we don't refer to the zombies in The Walking Dead as zombies, they call them walkers. Apparently we don't say werewolf in Ferals. We just refer to them as the Ferals. And this is an interesting series. It's basically right up my alley. It's gory, it's raunchy, there's a lot of TNA in this. It's just good stuff. What we got going on in this issue is that Dale is starting to still lose himself to the feral nature that he's with, and him and this woman from the FBI have been tasked with going into a small town in Norway and trying to sniff out some more of these ferals for the feds, because they fear that there's a large militarization of them that is planning to take place and actually rise up against mankind. And in this issue, there's some very bad stuff that's going on. Dale actually finds himself in a heap of trouble at the end of this issue. as well as the woman who he went into this organization with. There's actually a particular woman who is responsible for turning Dale that a lot of these beasts have history with, and they really want taken out, and they think that she's her. There's a lot going on in this series that's good. A lot of people might not like it for how gruesome and just absolutely raunchy this is, but I love this series. It's a good fucking werewolf comic. I'm going to continue reading this. I think it's a little bit overpriced at $4 for the issue, but it's still some good stuff, and I would recommend it.